I thought you might find it interesting to come on a journey with me on this whole testing of a pattern. In this instance, this is a crochet pattern from Sweet Crochet Dreams. She's a South African crochet designer. And her name is Mariana Müller, and she's an avid pattern designer, great pattern designer. I have done many of her patterns before. I absolutely love them all. And in this instance, she made a call out, a secret test call out in this instance to her previous. So if you've previously tested a pattern of hers, in my instance I did, she will go back to those pattern testers and ask, would you consider testing another pattern? In this instance, it is a secret test, so there's no call out on her social media to the public. Sometimes designers do that. They will post a pic of a beautiful project, sweater, whatever the case might be, whether it's knitting or crochet, and they will say they are going to need testers. And then sometimes they have secret tests, so there's no information about a pattern coming and suddenly boom, you get a new pattern. But there's a lot of work that goes into that before the time, and in this instance this is a secret test, so you'll only see this video when the pattern is out there in the universe. So I got this email from Mariana saying, you are getting this email because you've tested for me before, and I'm having this pattern that needs to be tested. It is a secret pattern, and would you be willing to test the pattern? And then normally, or in her instance, she's giving you an option to go onto a Google form and fill in your details. She will provide details of the yarn that you're going to need, the crochet hook that you're going to need, when is the due date, the time expectations, all the ideas of what is expected of you as a tester, whether it's giving proper photos, proper feedback. So all of the expectations is quite beautifully set out before you actually even start with the application process. So then I submitted my form with all my details, the yarn that I'm going to use, or the idea that I have, and then you wait for a response to see if you are approved as a tester. Because obviously it depends on, say for instance, a pattern designer is having a sweater and you have different sizes. You want to use different testers with different sizing options so that you can test all the range of sizes. It's really up to the designer how the approval of the tester works like. So that's a whole nother story. But in this case, I was so lucky to be able to be approved as a tester for this specific pattern. And I want to take you on the journey of me testing the pattern. So I'm going to start the test of this pattern, and this is for Mariana Müller, better known in our South African crochet community as Sweet Crochet Dreams, a South African designer. And the pattern's name is Faded Pathway Cowl. So this pattern follows her recently published pattern called Faded Pathway Cowl, which is a wearable. And this makes me so excited. So I want to talk to you about the pattern. The pattern calls for a fingering weight yarn with 12 or less different colors, ranging between it's under 20 gram. So the smallest one that she has currently is 10.5, and you must remember I'm having a draft copy here in my hands. So this is not the finalized pattern. And the heaviest skein she was used, or the yarn that she used, was 16.5 grams. So 12 20 gram skeins. So this is perfect for an advent or a mini skein set that you have. That's that. Then you do need a 4.5 millimeter 4.5 millimeter hook, crochet hook, a US 7 hook, crochet hook, and then you need 4 stitch markers, She also gave gauge that she obtained. So that is 20 linked double treble stitches and 5 rounds to get a 10 by 10 centimeter block. All right, so the amount of stitches in 10 centimeters and the amount of rows in 10 centimeters. That's what she gives. And that is when it is blocked. So that was after she has blocked it, wet blocked it, or whatever the case might be. Then she's giving measurements. The top of the cowl is about 53 centimeters. The bottom opening circumference is about 75 centimeters. So it's wide at the bottom, going up and narrowing down, which is awesome for a cowl. And then the length of the cowl is 46 centimeters. And that is all the details. So I have been going back and forth about my yarn. It's been a minute. We probably received the go-ahead that I'm chosen as a pattern tester, and the pattern, if you hear all the birds, this is my garden. That's life. I'm not filming inside today. So I wanted to do one solid color and then use a mini skein, and then again the same color, solid color, and then a mini skein. So I had yarn dyed up for that, specifically with that idea, and I've just been brewing and brewing and brewing, and then I finally realized, made a decision not to do that. So I'm going to use 12 mini skeins as the pattern is suggesting, and it's just beautiful. You're going to see my yarn in the video somewhere. And yes, and then I want to talk about gauge. So having gauge tension for your project, especially if you're making a wearable like a sweater or a top, something like that, that is really crucial because it's going to impact the sizing. If it's the pattern is, for instance, for a specific size, and you are not working your stitches according to the gauge or get optimum gauge close to as what the designer is suggesting, then your sizing of your garment is going to be out. Excuse me. So when you are doing a pattern test, especially for a wearable like a sweater, it's really crucial to be able to do the gauge swatch for your wearable. And even if you are not even pattern testing, even if you're going to make a wearable from a pattern, do a gauge swatch. It's very important because otherwise you're going to be sorry, and it might not fit. It might either be too loose, too big, or it might be too small. In this instance, this is only a cowl, so I'm not as worried about the gauge. And I have tested for Mariana before, and I know that my gauge and her gauge is on point. It's almost the same. It's basically the same. So in this instance, I'm going to be rebellious. I am not going to do a pattern gauge, a gauge swatch. So, but I'm not worried about that because that's not it's not a wearable. So you will not see me doing a gauge swatch in this video. I'm living on the wild side here. All right, and then why do we test patterns? You know, we test patterns because we want to make sure as designers want to make sure that people understand the pattern, that it is suitable. Maybe there's a question that the designer feels is like really so simple and people know about certain things, but then again, the people that's actually using the pattern, for them they don't know it automatically, that it needs to be specified in the pattern. So those are the things that you want to clear out. You want to know that the pattern actually works. Does the pattern actually create what is the intention to be created, you know, what it is to be created for? And then the designer also wants feedback. What is the yarn usage? Do you obtain the same type of usage of yarn than the designer? So in terms of giving that feedback back to the designer is crucial, because you as a pattern user don't want to sit with a situation where you don't have enough yarn, right? That the pattern was not tested, and then in actual fact you're using more yarn. and it costs you more money, and it's just frustrating. So that is the reason why. And then, you know, extra tips, maybe saying, you know, maybe you need to specify where we need to place the stitch markers, or did you consider maybe word the pattern here like this? Communication between the tester, pattern tester, and the designer is absolutely key, and I couldn't stress that enough. So that is truly important. And then the other thing is, as a pattern tester, you need to provide good quality photos to your designer. Most designers do want that, and they ask for that as a prerequisite for you to be able to test the pattern. So they want you to be able to provide a good photo, and so that they can use that in their marketing, probably in their pattern, and that they know that it fits you perfectly as well, right? It's a proof almost. So pattern testing is really important to make sure that a good quality pattern is out there in the world, and that people that comes after you using the pattern will not be frustrated, and that it is suitable and easy to use, and just a great experience crocheting the pattern. So I'm going to start the pattern test, but first I need to weigh my yarn.
Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. To the groove and the light that flickers. We get lost in the crowd, it's getting thicker. We get away from.
I am done with my cowl. I'm so pleased with my cowl. The only thing that I have to do, I honestly can't even remember how long this took me to do, because I have other projects in between as well. I'll have to check when I started this cowl, but and when I finished it. But I'm so loving the end result. You start at the top, and then you use this fade technique as per the pattern, and it is just gorgeous. The only thing I need to do now is I need to block my cowl, wet block it, establish the gauge properly so that I can give feedback to the designer, as well as indicate to the designer the amount of yarn I used per color. So that I need to do, and then I need to take photos. I need to give the photos also to the designer. Ta-da! And then I'm done. So yeah, there's a little bit of work still that needs to be done to be able to assist the designer, but I loved this pattern. The more I crocheted on this, I just loved it even more. I got to the rhythm where it was having the two yarns, so that technique where you use the one yarn, the one color, and then the next color, and I knew how to separate those two balls and keep it left and right so that I can not struggle getting things tangled up. And once I got that, it was so quick. I loved it, and I absolutely love the end result. I mean, it is absolutely lovely, absolutely lovely. And this is so soft. I love this yarn, like I already mentioned, and it's so hot. I cannot wait to wear this for the rest of the winter. I'm so happy I made this cowl. So come along with me while I block and give feedback to the designer, and then you'll see the pictures and the photos at the end.
Drink some chatter. Haven't said a word, but it doesn't matter. Feel the air getting there. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. Live your life within
It is a few days later. My cowl is blocked and I've already worn it 2 times. I love this cowl. It's so soft. I wore it yesterday. It was -3 degrees in the morning here in Bloemfontein, and this was the cowl I grabbed. And I have to say, it's soft and warm. And today I'm wearing it again because I am loving it. It's my new favorite cowl. So we just need to measure the gauge. The door of the bathroom is opening. Anyway, I have to measure the gauge. So how many stitches in a 10 by 10 centimeter block, how many stitches and how many rows. I need to give feedback to the designer. And then I have to, can you hear the door? It's the wind. Now it's creating problems. It's real life, people. This is real life. Anyway, I have to measure the opening circumference of the cowl, the bottom circumference of the cowl, and the length of the cowl. So I'll do all of that. You'll accompany me. I'll have to quickly calculate my yarn usage for the 12 skeins I used. For the first skein, which you start at the top of the cowl, afterwards you add this beautiful border. I don't know if you can see it. So I have to also subtract that, as well as at the bottom. It has the zigzag. I hope you can see. I hope you can see. Anyway, so I need to do all of that. We took some photos. So at the end, the photos will be at the end. So I had to take some photos for the designer. So we're going to measure all the things, and then we're going to upload all the data to the designer and submit the information so that she can have that and form part of all her things before she releases the pattern. All right, so let's do all that. So here is my page where I recorded my yarn before I started, the weight of the yarn, as well as afterwards. You will see for yarn A, this is the first skein where you start at the top. And after I've used that skein, I had 12.96 grams left. And then after I have done the border of the cowl, I had 11.65 grams left. So I have to do all the calculations, and then I have to, can you see this is all very rough. I have to measure the top opening, the bottom opening, the length of the cowl, and then work out the gauge. So this I'll do a little bit later, but let's measure the top opening. So this is 32 centimeters times 2. So that is 64 centimeters circumference. Right, 32 times 2. And then the bottom opening. This is not an exact science. 46, maybe a little bit, yeah, about 46 centimeters times 2. And then the length of the cowl, there goes my pen cover. The length of the cowl from the top to the bottom, it's about 41.5 centimeters. So the bottom circumference is 92 centimeters, the top is 64 centimeters, and now we're going to measure the gauge. So you have a few options. You can use your measuring tape, right? and hold it like this for 10 centimeters and count your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It looks like 19 stitches. You can do that, but I have this amazing tool that I bought from Naughty Habit, which is a 10 by 10 centimeters. So I just pull it here. I have it, so why not use it? And then I count my stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 stitches. So 20 stitches in a 10 by 10 centimeter gauge. And now we're going to count the rows. So I just want to quickly make sure how she calculated. So in this case it will be rounds, and a round consists of this whole stitch. This whole section here is basically the stitch. It's a linked double treble stitch. So how many rounds do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 for me. For 5.5 rounds. So this is not rows, it's rounds. 5.5. 5.5 rounds and 20 stitches. All right, so now we need to go calculate quickly how many yarn did we use, and then we need to give feedback to the designer. So I thought, let me shoot video a close-up of the rounds, because I realized it came out a little bit blurry. So this is a linked double treble stitch, so it's one stitch, this whole section. So this is the round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. There we go.
In a blurry dream, no one else can see us. So let us dance this night away.
I hope you enjoyed the journey I took testing the amazing pattern from Sweet Crochet Dreams, the Faded Pathway Cowl. I thoroughly had a blast. I always enjoy testing for Mariana, and I love this cowl. I love that it has this wider bottom circumference to, you know, to be able to warm me up at the lower neck area. And then I've been wearing this cowl now for a few days. For a few days, every day. It's so warm and so cuddly, and it's one of my favorite cowls at the moment. So go and have a look at Sweet Crochet Dream. She has a lot of things up her sleeve. She's an amazing designer, crochet pattern designer. And go and buy your cowl. You would want to wear this cowl. I hope you enjoyed it with me. Up until I see you next time, goodbye. Please remember to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't done so. Bye.
Standing in a blurry dream, no one else can see us. Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. Feel the air get thinner. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. So let us dance this night away.